So, folks, welcome back to Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. We have Mick, we have Chris, the Cosmick voice. I want to get to how you came up with the name, but Mick, one of the things that you said just before we wrapped the first segment, you talked about, you don't know what people want and sharing information. And one of the things that I'm starting to find is that people it's one of a few things, but sometimes they don't want to ask certain things for fear that they look stupid or for fear that they're going to come across as, I don't know, weak or whatever. And so sometimes it's almost, I don't know, maybe a little frustrating because they want to ask something, but you don't want to force kind of the info down their throat. Are you finding that maybe that's taking place a little bit?
That we're forcing the info down the throat?
Well, you kind of get a sense of what they're looking for, but they're not asking the question because maybe they don't want to appear weak.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some of that. I think there's that with any kind of walk of life. I was once told by an instructor many years ago. I was sitting in a class that I felt that I wasn't really prepared to do, but and I at one of the breaks, I said, I shouldn't be here. I don't think I'm ready for this. And he goes, yeah, you are more than me. I go, everybody around, they're shaking their head like, they're getting it, they're understanding. And I'm still trying to, follow along. And he goes, most people do that. He goes, they're all doing it because they don't want to look like they don't understand. He
Sure.
goes, 95% of them don't understand. And I think that's, and again, and we talk about that. I'll be the first to tell you a lot of the things that I don't understand or didn't understand, or I am still learning, both personally as an artist and the struggles that I have, and then within the business with a band and that type of thing. But that's, again, like I said, most artists don't even know what they're actually looking for. Or so if they don't know what they're looking for, they don't know how to get it. So sometimes we'll start down, with a broad topic, and then halfway through the show, we're kind of sawing away at it and getting to the core of it. But again, it's a show. People can turn it off if it's not working for them, or they don't get something out of it. And some shows they rate higher than others, and I guess it's because of the information, or some artists don't feel that they need it. But I and it's not just for newbies. It's like, listen, I'm a veteran artist, right? I took a couple of years off because I was like, man, I need a break. When I came back, the industry was completely different. It was digital. I had no idea. I was an analog guy, and it took me a long time to really get to the digital aspect, to understand it, to get it to work. My first couple albums digitally, they're horrible. They're so horrible that I took them off. You can't get them anymore. Like that's the music wasn't bad because I didn't know crap about digital. And we've talked about this in the podcast. And maybe my PR early on, because as again, an older person trying to figure out social media.
Yep.
I still don't like social media. I know it's a necessary evil, especially for a band today, but it's still the worst. But I've learned how to navigate it, and every time I learn how to navigate it, Facebook changes it again. So, and I think that, like you said, a lot of these guys, they don't want to look weak, especially metal guys, and they don't want to look like they don't know or whatever. But I've always been a proponent of, you got to ask questions. Ask questions, because if you want to figure it out yourself, man, if you want to run this long term, you got to ask questions. And I I was lucky enough over the years to have a couple mentors that really made a difference. And even as an adult and a veteran artist, going in thinking I knew what I was doing, and I met someone who was senior to me, had much more experience in a lot more aspect that I wasn't even aware of. And we talked about this in the show. Like, you got your A, B, C, D bands, right? If you take a D band and move them up to the C grade, a lot of stuff changes. There's some core stuff, but a lot of stuff will change. You take that C band and you make them an A band. Well, now it's a whole different ball of wax. So there's a learning process the whole way through. So hopefully this just offers some insight into people that kind of do it and still do it, right? It's not like, hey, we used to do this and we did that. No, we're still doing this. We're still trying to do tours, right? Book tours, local shows, national shows, overseas shows. What's the difference between playing a regular venue to playing a festival of different sizes? How do we promote? What's the difference between a promotion guy, a PR guy, an advertising agency? They're all different. Everything's different. And the new, what's it like to the new record labels today where they want you to pay 50%? Like since COVID, we were just talking about this. Since COVID, a lot of labels are switching over to that because everyone lost their shirt and no one wants to lose their pants.
That's it. And I mean, the model's definitely changing. And, I talked to a lot of bands, like the bands that I would say are a generation behind me. And you kind of get the feeling, oh, here we go. We're going to talk to this old guy who, social media wasn't around. And there's this kind of feeling like they know it all and they're smart and you're stupid, but they don't realize the life experiences that, you can sit there and you can promote yourself all you want. What are you going to do when you're playing a club and you don't get paid? How are you going to deal with that? Yeah. Me playing like in Quebec back when I was like 19 years old and getting ripped off by a club owner, putting chains around the door and going to pull the door off if they didn't pay us. Why would you do that? Well, I needed my money. I'm not getting invited back, but guess what? I'm getting home. Things like that I'm assuming if you guys are dealing with certain artists, there's all kinds of different sorts of things that, your conversation starts here and it quickly kind of widens like this. Is that a fair statement, Chris?
Yeah, for sure. One thing always leads to other things, right? Because you go, you start talking about, and listen, me and Mick are guilty of this on the podcast. Like sometimes we go, we pick a topic and we talk about it. And then by the end of the episode, we've expanded on that topic naturally, not even, just in normal, conversation and casually talking. And then, one of us says something and it leads the other to go another way. So, 100%, you start one way and it goes completely different. There's always a million things for one little subject. You know what I mean?
Well, I find when so when I do what I do, it's interview based, and I find if you just shut your mouth and listen, what happens is you get more questions for the person that you're talking to because they say something and it's kind of like, as opposed to you interrupt or you ask a question, then they don't take it where you want to. So you interrupt them to try to move to another spot. Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys find if you're doing an interactive piece where you're taking questions and stuff, do you find you might get some people arguing with you because, oh no, that'll never work. What are you talking about? Do you ever get that type of feedback when you're doing the show?
We've had a little bit of that, like in the Facebook posts, but again, I tell bands as well, including with how I run my band. Like you have the choice whether or not you want to engage, right? And most of the time, my suggestion is don't engage. You either say thank you, hey, I appreciate you listening, thanks for the share, whatever. If you do give a little bit more, you keep it high level, you keep it positive, and you move on, right? If it's something that's really disparaging, well, you hide it. You don't get involved. It's because you're always going to have that thing. It's kind of like what's happening now with that whole autograph and Steve Lynch thing.
Yeah,
I get it. I get where they're both coming from, but do you really got to air it out on Facebook? Like, I don't understand that, right? Yeah. My mother always told me you don't air out your dirty laundry. And and Chris is the same way.
It's kind of bizarre. And I mean, I don't know if that's coming from the old school, any news is good news, or spell my name right and print a picture. I don't know where it's coming from, but it does look a little bizarre. And are you in Philly as well, Chris?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Where they what is it they say down there that you folks go down to the airport and boo a good landing? Isn't that what they always say?
That's pretty good. Yes.
Yeah. So, sorry about the World Series. I'm sure you guys were disappointed about that, but
somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. You know what I mean?
Hey, you know what? But the Eagles ain't looking so bad. So maybe we'll see where that goes.
We'll see where it goes.
They always say in Philly, better luck next year, right?
Oh, listen. So I used to be a Toronto Maple Leafs fan who hasn't won a cup in my lifetime, so I kind of gravitated away from that. So anyway,
there you go.
But the name Cosmic Voice. Where'd you guys come up with that?
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's a play on my name and COS from Cos. Years ago, I had an account, and along with the other members of the band, and everybody was just COS and their first name, COS and their first name. So we each had an individual account, so it wouldn't get messed up, right? Not realizing when I put COS Mick, and I looked back at it and I go, wow, Cosmic. Wow, that's kind of neat, you know?
Yeah.
And so I started using that more and more over the years for some of the studio work that I do and some of the other production work that I'm involved in. And in 2017, I started the Cosmic View, which is my website for interviewing other artists. And I had done that as a way, as like almost like fan service for me, right? Like as a fanboy to the music, to the scene. And I wanted to make it nothing but positivity. But at the same time, I wanted to learn what other artists were doing. I figured, well, this is the best way to research, is to just talk to the artists. And I've talked to everyone from KK Downing to, Chris Natalini to, people that we haven't even heard of from all over the world, which is amazing. And I've learned so much. And, what I've learned from them, I've applied to my own models, or I tweaked, or, whatever the case may be. But I also did it because I really do love music. And I love, other than just metal, there's all this other kind of music out there. And again, like I said, I wanted to create an environment where artists are being showcased, where the stars always shine bright. That's the tagline for that thing. So when I got the idea for the podcast, I wanted to keep the Cosmic moniker, and I just figured, well, we're going to be talking, so let's just use the voice. And that's kind of where it came from. It organically happened by accident, but then it just became a branding piece.
Yeah, and I think that it does lend itself to. I mean, you hate to say cosmic, meaning the concepts are out there, but sometimes concepts are out there. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day about this, where you come up with a neat idea, you do an interview, you interview somebody, you think it's going to be lights out, and it gets 1,000 views. And then some dude's feeding raccoons on his back deck, and he gets like 40 million hits. And it's like, what the heck is going on, right? And it's just no rhyme or reason for it. So I think people really need to always, learn from other people. I don't want to say steal, borrow, and always have the antenna up for new info. Is that a fair statement, Chris?
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%, because since I've known Mick, like I said, for a long time, and now that we're working closely together, I follow Mick's model, and that's not a lie. Because Mick is a smart dude, so I know when he does something, it's going to be good, because he's not going to do it if it's not. I mean, honestly, I've been in my own band rehearsals, and we've been talking, and I go, well, Mick did it. And everybody goes, okay, then let's do it. Like when Mick's name is involved, it's always, yep, let's just do it. Like if Mick did it, Chords of Sanctuary did it, then yes, we're doing it too. It's how it is.
I'll tell you an interesting thing. So a friend of mine that I talk to on a regular basis is Matt Starr, that plays with Ace Frehley, wicked drummer. I love the guy. Sure. And there was some banter on our page about being able to make it in your hometown, and somebody said, "Oh, it's location." And Matt had the funniest line: "If you're not the biggest fish in your own pond, then you need to work until you get that." And you know what you said about Mick. I talked to some people in the Philly area, and you're well known, brother. I mean, you're not some guy that when I go, "Oh, Mick Michaels," they're like, "Yeah, we know exactly who he is. We know what he's up to." So it says a lot about you and how hard you work.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, I just, I don't even know how to respond to that. I just kind of do what I do. And I love the music. I love being in the scene. And I really do, as on a personal level, I really do love helping other people when I can. It's hard sometimes because, people sometimes expect more. Like what you had asked earlier, like sometimes if if the podcast does something or we talk about something and we relate it to our bands or our career, I'll get a message to go, well, can you get me one of those endorsements? Or, can you send me some of those things so I can check them out and stuff like that? Or, oh man, we need to book some shows together, after, we've just done, like, say, a big show or something. And even though we talk about it on the show, some people don't, they just figure it's an easy thing. Like one guy, I said, listen, you probably could get the endorsement, but you need to do at least, 40 shows a year. You need to show this type of thing. I go, if you can do all that, you'll get the endorsement. And I go, I don't mind, bringing you forward if you have that to show. But it's amazing what people, artists, bands, they just expect that they're just going to get it. There's this entitlement. And I don't want to complain about, like, newer bands and things like that, but there often is with the younger bands today, an entitlement where, years ago you really had to fight to play someplace or do something to achieve, like, again, being from Philly to get to Jersey, which is only, a 2-hour drive. It could take a band months with showcasing and sending demos back and forth and calling up at 2:00 in the afternoon, hoping the owner's there because they don't take calls after 6. And you're like, and all this kind of stuff where today, you got brand new bands right out of the gate. They're playing in big halls and, because the venues are, filling up, 5-6 bands deep to cover the national touring band. So all of a sudden there's this entitlement thing where, everybody becomes, like Chris and I talk about it, we like Facebook famous, and, and it changes the way you think about things. And or you start believing that hype, and it's just, it's tough. But listen, I just do what I do. I enjoy the work. Right. Somebody once told me, he's like, save me the labor pains, just show me the baby. I said, well, if you don't embrace the labor pains, you're never going to embrace the journey, because you're never going to truly love the destination, because you don't know what it cost to get there, what you had to do, and why it means so much. And so that's all that is.
That's a fair statement. And you mentioned endorsements, and I have a few, and I mean, I work my ass off to get them. And a lot of people don't realize that, getting the endorsement, that's the first step. Big deal. You become a salesman. You become literally a carny huckster for the product that you're pitching. And, you got to be good on social media. They don't want somebody representing you that's a complete buffoon and whatever. And
Right.
People just don't understand this. That's a whole other topic for another day. Gentlemen, I want to be respectful of your time. Chris, where are my folks going to find you? I'm going to share all this stuff here real soon when we post it. But where are they going to find you and your podcast and what you're up to?
Well, you can follow me at Chris Natalini on Facebook. I am Skin Carver Nat on Instagram, and you can find me through the Cosmic Voice. Mick and I always tag each other. And Seeds of Perdition is my death metal band, and I have a thrash metal band called Execution Order.
And Mr. Michaels, I'll ask you the same thing.
Yeah, you can check out the Cosmic Voice at www.thecosmicvoice.com. The Cosmic Voice, capital letters in the beginning, on Facebook. We have the Cosmic Verse on YouTube and the Cosmic Verse on Instagram. You can also check out the interview site at thecosmicview.com. Same thing with you'll find it. Just do a search, you'll find it. You can check out my band, Corners of Sanctuary, at cornersofsanctuary.com and on Facebook. Chris and I also have a side project called Hereafter. It's a doom groove metal band, so you can check that out at Hereafter Band, or Hereafter Doom, I think it is.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And just do a search. You'll find something free or otherwise.
Yeah, we're out there.
Right on. Gents, thanks so much for doing this. A blast as always, and good luck going forward. We'll check in with you guys again down the road and see where she's all going.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate your time.
Holidays.
Peace, guys.
Thanks, man. Later.